So there's a number of differences. I'm going to try to focus and some, maybe for some, so, that's, so basically, we're fitting into the. Yes. Thank you. So basically, New Jersey is a rule that preparing a contract is considered practice of law. By the real estate agent preparing a contract is law. So the court said, okay, we'll let agents do that because deals come together, which we recognize, but we'll get an agent subject to a 30-day attorney review period. So you have 3 business days. If nothing happens, the lawyers don't do anything, contract's binding, and the buyer or the seller can have look at it. The question is, the biggest question that I see is that with attorney review is not contract. And that's very, very important to know. Attorney begins when the buyer and the seller get the fully signed. So if your buyer got the fully signed contract on Sunday and you're sending me something Thursday, and you're telling your client Thursday, so you have 3 business days, and it starts the day after the contract. Monday, Sunday. Once you're in the attorney review period, either the buyer or the seller's attorney can send it. And in essence, what the disapproval letter is, in the South End, scary, was basically saying, I'm canceling the contract, which you all have worked so hard to get. To say I'm canceling the contract, but it is acceptable if you accept it. Now, in reality, that's what you have to do. But you have to present it in that. Now, once that letter is set, the calls to the clients of the week, 2 days by, we're still in days are over, it's not done. Once either attorney sends out that attorney letter and asks for changes, time doesn't matter. Time doesn't matter because at that point, it's contract offer acceptance and counter offer. So you're making a counter offer. That's accepted. So the goal always, and I understand, stress of the attorney, stress of the agent, goal is get this under contract. While you're in attorney review, both the buyer and the seller in this market for sellers, offers, and not as much for buyers these days, but buyers these days. So it's very, very important for everybody involved that get the parties out of the truth. So on our end, you have to be very cognizant of what the market is. And if I have a buyer that I'm representing, this is not the time to and one of the things that I personally find incredibly frustrating in New Jersey is that you have a buyer buy a condo and have an attorney sell it from the condo, but buy it from the banks and restrictions where it's just it has to have something to do with the whole intention, letters of intention. But right now, if you're working with attorney, it's really important to some of the questions that we have and we're concerned about so a disclosure statement that makes things a lot. Sometimes I don't do it in this market. Or it's great, you have the time, you have and it's not that I don't have the time, are really, talk about the most important. So that's the attorney review process. Once you're done with attorney review, all the time frames. And this is really where inspections is really the biggest difference between New Jersey and Pennsylvania. That's the crux of the difference is where the lawyers. So VA, you've got the 15 days contract and the 15 days cancel or if you want to make a request, everything's very much right now. You guys get to do and sending your agenda and asking for things to be done. Pennsylvania, New Jersey doesn't work that way. I mean, first of all, and sometimes time things are very fluid, and by having, the contract, New Jersey contract says time of yes. But that language is typically taken out by both seller side, and offer side. Start taking that out, but it's really, and what we generally say in New Jersey is that you've got 14 days to do your inspection. If you don't make your request within that 14-day period, we can send you a 3-day notice stating that I haven't had the request within 3 days. But what happens is we do the home inspection. So chimney inspection, so on and so forth, all of this. And the 14-day time period becomes, sometimes a 30-day time period by the time you negotiate that. So, in attorney review, seller's attorneys, we tend to try and make inspections a lot more restricted. When you're dealing with something that tends to be more open-ended time period, you cannot afford to have go to buyer and then 20 days later. We want everything done quickly. If they are going to do general inspections, they have to be limited to very specifically limited to certain. There's different ways that the contracts that are typically getting for sellers is structural, environmental inspection, buyers. I personally don't like the term buyer information because I don't know what that is. The buyer getting information purposes how to make your fair request, or they're just getting information purposes, that they're allowed to. If there's a waiver, there's a waiver. Waive my rights, so inspections, even though inspections for fun, you can, but it's not a waiver, in that, and we will put that in, not every.
So in Pennsylvania, we're seeing more and more that inspections for informational purposes only. The buyer gets in his writing under additional contractual provision. Yet they elect the home inspection.
I hate that line. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. And a lot of the agents I've worked with put that in, and I've been like, hey, what's that mean?
Right. Terminate.
Yeah. Well, you can't terminate, right? So this is the thing. In Pennsylvania, in New Jersey, you can't. So if you're going to send me a letter saying for informational purposes only, and I'm seller's attorney, and I put in my letter, strictly as is, information. I'll either put in, informational purposes only. That's great. You're not allowed to ask for any repairs. You get them. You don't have like 15 days to do that. Or we're going to go back and we're going to say no, it's informational purposes only, but it's as is. I'm not expecting the seller to accept it, which also doesn't mean all that much. Which basically just means the buyer's accepting the house as is. They understand that the seller's not doing it. But that doesn't. If your seller expects that the buyers are not doing inspections, that doesn't mean the buyers are doing inspections. That just means, I think, in a lot of agents' minds, that it is, it's as is. We recognize the seller's not going to fix it. However, they still have the 14 days to do the inspections. Then they still have the ability to drag it on and say, well, how about this and how about that? most of the time you'll get the, limited to major structural, it's limited to environmental and things like that. So we'll see, like in my review letter, and a number of other attorneys, what we do is we just really kind of hone that in. What is major structural? Major structural is not a broken window or thermostat. And if you look at my letters, especially now, I would say you are not allowed to ask, even so much as mentioned. If there's a broken thermal slip, you're not allowed to say anything to make that driveway crack. So we walked up a really cracked up driveway and we just cracked down. It's we try and limit what they had asked for. If it's fully as is, then if you've got structural cracks, if you've got mold, if you've got asbestos, and those are the things. It doesn't mean that sometimes that doesn't do often to things. You can ask for you can only ask for over $5,000 of actual repair items. If you get to that period, you've got the 15 days, and you could say, I don't want to cancel. I'm going to try and make this work out. I'm going to ask for all these different things. So, in our case, buyers can't just cancel. And what we sometimes get, from attorneys saying buyers are not satisfied with the report, they can just back out of the deal. I just had one that we did, and seller's attorney, you're like, okay, but we're limited to inspections. You've got 10 days. You can cancel, you walk away for anything you want. But beyond that, you leave your period and story. Because the same attorneys that go and they ask you for, okay, we'll do it 10 days, then they take out labor. And they take out, yes, take all that stuff. And that's when you have to be careful, because 2 months later, you're still having the same conversation with me.
Just to backtrack you a little bit, I'm sorry, you said that we can usually go from 14 days to 30 days. Could you just walk me through so I can understand how the kind of things work, like what change?
So, what happens is take out any reference to it. The contract is written, says if you don't do your inspections in a certain period of time, that's right. Contracts don't work that way. Labor is removed by, attorneys, even agents, sometimes without attorneys, things just these time periods tend to be more, fluid. So, I don't know, inspectors, now are slower, but, in the summer, inspectors are not as available, whatever the case is. 14 days are up. It's not like, well, you're out of time, you cancel the contract. So what happens is, the inspector goes out and he says, no, I recommend a structural engineer, or I recommend something else, or, the buyer gets the report and then he needs time to look at the report. And then the buyer asks for the repair request. It's, it's more, let's just say that happens in the 7 days. The radon comes in and all that. Then the seller has to respond, right? So the seller contract says seller responds in 7 days, seller can respond to that. The seller responds in 2 days, the seller needs to have estimates, and then the buyer has the time to go and decide, well, okay, I have the seller response. I don't know if I like it, I don't know if I don't like it, maybe I'm gonna get my own estimate, and I'm gonna get 3 tree guys to give me that, so by the time you turn around, it's 30 days. And and that's what you want to try to avoid. So if you're going to have these things that just keep rolling and rolling and rolling on, there's language that we put in our letters to try and restrict that. Seller can just say, forget it, or cancel it. We can put all of that language in there, but the bottom line is the big difference is that you need to be very clear as the seller what the parameters are for inspections. So right away, you cut out the BS. That's important. And I've done plenty of letters that say, you just, I got one last week. It was like, I went $3,500, and I got this, and I got that. And, there's a broken window thermal seal, there's little things that are off, and it was like, well, you signed the letter, so you can't ask for this, you can't ask for this, you can't ask for that. You're not even allowed to ask me. You're in breach if you keep pushing. So there's ways to try and, but you can only do that in attorney review. You guys have 15 pages to your contract. I don't remember how many pages. We have you know, a relatively shorter contract with, a lot of kind of reading between the lines. And that is the way Board of Realtors, does their deals, plus the Supreme Court, requirement that the attorneys make changes. So the role of an attorney is just try and clear up the confusion and kind of close up those gaps so that, you don't end up in something you just don't move on, from a buyer that you think. So that is really, the biggest, that is really the biggest thing to deal with. When we're dealing with buyers, I'm sure it's the same anywhere, some perspective they have, especially for a second, how old is that? That makes our lives, obviously, easier. Sometimes your sellers will do disclosure statements, sometimes they won't. The buyer will know how old, and everything else. It's a very common change that we put in all of our review letters, say buyers are not allowed to raise any. So, you go in and find out that your outward is 20 years old and 30 years old and it's 40 years old, but it's not leaking and there's nothing wrong with it. You're not allowed to do things at all. So, virtually seeing in the letter is that, you go, you're not even allowed to, you're not allowed to ask for it. So that's really important. Try to find out that information. And you can tell the buyer what that is. And you say this way. I mean, it's such a different market right now. We have to kind of, I don't know, last week. You're having a much different conversation now, I suspect, with the buyers than you had a couple of years ago. And, we're all cognizant of that, but that's still a big issue. How old is that? And, the difficulty for us when we're representing buyers and trying to push things along, the buyer's like, well, I don't know. And if they, we get a review letter from the other attorney that says, you're not allowed to raise this, it's good to, it's something that is obviously kind of useful, for anybody, really. And what is it? Starting to see them. And then I'm not asking them, basically say, this is a major, list of, list of items. And it's kind of going back to health and safety. A number of years ago, I made, my husband and I bought a house in Bethlehem. And, we were like, oh, we buy college housing for college. And I'm like, great, this is PA. So I made an offer, so I didn't see. It's a wonderful thing in PA, right? And then when I looked at the contract, we looked at the house, and I'm like, well, it's actually not worth this, it's worth that. And, and you can back out. I mean, you can back out for any reason you want in this 15 days. And, that's a huge benefit for buyers in Pennsylvania. And at the end of the day, they have many nieces, nephews, buy houses here, and obviously, that really is the crux of the difference. Your buyers have that choice, unless they waive inspections, which is kind of more of a new phenomenon right now, but they have that choice. So they don't have that kind of risk that you have in New Jersey, where you got to go walk through all these, landmines and look back. It's like, well, wait a minute, I just put up this deposit and I'm not going back. That's the big difference. It's just understanding and helping them do that. I think the best way to kind of help them navigate that during the years of contract is information. The more information you can get them, that's what's really important. So going, I was saying type of inspections, typically right now is, sewer scans. That's something that we highly recommend. I don't know if we do it as much, for those anything older, high seats, anything with structural engineers, anything else. As far as things to just to bring to attention, so New Jersey, we've got your house in the particularly, there's a condo again in the business. It's actually really interesting what that condo agenda, says as far as inspections. If there's an inspection issue, which is the responsibility of the association, as a seller, all you have to do is notify the association. You don't have to wait for the association to fix it. You don't even need to wait for the association to fix their responsibility. As buyer's attorney, I don't like that. As buyer's attorney, number one, I want something in writing saying it's their responsibility, because it's just because you do it. Generally, buyer's attorney, what I would try and say is that you can better keep this coming in a major imminent problem, and that's something we may want to address. It takes long to tell you horror stories about some of these. But in general, if it's an HOA issue, all that contractually the seller is required to do is just notify the HOA, not make sure that it's actually fixed. Not like for that, it's a lot different. Yeah, and it's a big issue. Like I had a client, HOA said they were going to do something with all the water drainage or just first floor condo. Luggage you moved in, put in the closet, that was like a budding with the water, and it was covered in mold. We sent pictures of like our luggage is covered, like it's clearly coming in real high. We didn't make luggage. And they're doing this with Start and Start, these really large firms. There's a huge lobby for homeowners associations. I had actually a number back to something together with DCA, which is heads the association, but everyone tells me homeowners have zero rights. CPA, but there's zero rights. But so it's important. I mean, it really is. That language is a great escape for sellers. And again, meander back to a normal real estate market, right? And if that's ever going to happen, it's important for the clients to know that if you've got leaks coming in from the roof, and instead of condo, they're just going to keep on leaking if you're looking at the way the contract is. So, another thing about addendums, paragraph 43 of all the users contracts have all these different addendums that are attached. Sometimes what we see agents do is they just kind of mark off the addendum but not actually provide the addendum. So if you want to have, if you have well water, if you have septic, if you have anything like that, you actually have to have that addendum signed. There's nothing in the general contract which provides rights for well testing or septic testing or anything like that. Well water testing is done by the seller. Seller pays for the well water testing. Well water is also typically good for a year, but they recently changed something with the parameters. There's two other things that you can test for well. So if you have something that's a year old, you want to make sure that there's two parameters, additional ones are included. And then Northern actually, Pennsylvania is the same way. There's primary and secondary contaminants, and, things like that. So it's not obligated. Once you get the thing, you're technically not obligated to correct the things in the well water. I have rarely ever seen a seller who does it. It was a advisor seller with primary contaminants. It's something that you do what you want to do. Primary, chloride and arsenic in the water. Another good thing. Very common and well arsenic. And secondary ones like pH and things like that, they're not a big of a deal. So those are more things that people. So that's inspections, and I'm happy to go into more of that. Time of the essence, I kind of think into that. That's the whole if you don't close in a certain day. One thing about time of the essence, it's not like you let these things go on forever and ever. What happens is let's just say the closing day runs. These days, honestly, it's more of these things that you said sell for a while. So this is what the reason sellers also want to take that time of the essence. If you let this time of the essence, and some of the decisions you have in putting together contracts is that sellers have never done it. There's many of these where buyer's rates expired. Buyers ready to close on the closing date, the lenders ready to close, buyers did everything they were supposed to do, and sellers just not doing it. So they got time of the essence, sellers really can say, okay, well, great, February 28th is time of the essence, the date of the contract, you took that out, seller, you're good. In the 28th, you send out something, time of the essence letter, and it's a 10-day notice, 10 calendar day notice. So then you give them 10 days, now if you want to close on this day, seller, now you're definitely going to reach your contract. And, significance of that is that, with the lock extension payments, require the seller to pay. And you can sell it. So just kind of inside, what does all of that matter? And I have a really horrible situation like that. You can deal with the buyer, and the family was supposed to close in February. Seller got COVID, seller was released from the hospital, he said that. Seller can't do that. There's no COVID addendum. But seller's ill. I have the buyer. Buyer's landlord is throwing them out and their 2 kids out. They've made it really, their lives horrible. And need to leave their apartment. They're like 2 months behind. They've given notice. What do? Rates expired. We were ready to go through the first rate lock extension, the second rate lock extension. Did my time of the essence letter. Time of the essence was actually for Valentine's Day. And buyers like, well, what do we do? What do we do? So legally, we've done everything we can do. Can't knock down the door. Can't drag out the seller. You can, file a lawsuit. I'm a lawyer, but I tell everybody not to file any lawsuits. There's no, this doesn't, you push. You push this, as hard as you can. But I don't know how different that would be in Pennsylvania with the time of the essence day. You can't physically push somebody, out of the house. So, but those timeframes in that sense exist. I mean, that's your hard line. You have to give it away. And again, if they were saying that you're doing letters, they also say that if you have inspections are beyond 14 days, you give 2 days notice. If I don't get the request now, then you've given up your right. So we have the ability to do in some cases. So the next thing I was going to talk about is open public record requests. They are critical to the agency. They are really critical to it. So basically permits. It's the same house that I have with the seller, but you've got a swimming pool, you've got a finished basement, you've got, you need permits in New Jersey to live through. Because of hot water heater, you need a permit. In some stupid towns, you need a permit for a ceiling fan. I think it's stupid. I don't care. I tell my clients not to care. I tell my sellers not to care. But it's really, ridiculous things. But nobody worries about ceiling. You worry about the gas. You worry about the pool. You worry about, the basement and all these types of things. How are you going to find out about it? Well, we ask the seller responsible for all permits, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, if you don't know, and the seller says, sure, I got permits for everything, you're not going to know. You're not going to know not only that the permits are missing, but whether or not any permits are open. So it is critical in every town. And what I do with my clients is I literally go open public records request and open township. It comes up, and send the link to them, and they have to do it themselves. Talk to your insurers or realtors, brokers, insurance. I've done seminars with them as well. Your errors and omissions policy will not cover you. If you do it for them and you get the information wrong, you have to have your clients do it themselves.
Can sellers do that too?
Sellers can do that too. And honestly, sometimes, agents will go in the list of talking with the seller and they're like, I don't know, the basement was done before in the pool, and the agents will tell them, go and do that because then you have that. And it takes 7 days, you file it, it's free, it's online, every single town has it, and they're going to, send you the really good ones. It's great. They send you a little printout, they say the dates what the permits are for, the dates the permits were pulled, and then tell you, the dates they were closed. And, a number of towns do that. Some towns send you 500 pages of things you can verify. At which point, I'm trying to help, but the right thing to do from a liability perspective is, you have to tell your clients to do it. You should remind your clients to do it. You follow up, but don't do it for them. I don't know if anything's different here, but the errors and omissions policies for agents will not cover that, because you're getting that information not from a seller, you're getting that information from a third party. So anything for agents where you're getting it from a third party, potentially providing misleading information subjects to. So, but it is incredibly important. The other thing is too, that Hamilton Township, or my offices, they have a free, or they're supposed to have a free thorough CO type. COs are a mess, and I'll talk about that, but people will be like, okay, well, I have a first certificate of occupancy. I got a CO when I bought the house, and everybody had a basement, everybody had a deck, why do I have a CO? Well, guess what? It doesn't mean anything. Maybe they checked, maybe they didn't. And the second time they go after you, they're like, well, wait a minute, I don't see I don't see a sticker on that hot water heater. I'm like, I've only owned this house for 2 years. Well, there's no sticker there before. It's a 10-year-old hot water heater. I've had clients where the plumbing inspectors that have come out, you see something wrong with the electrical inspectors that have come out, and then they get pissed at you, and then they really take it to you. And it gets to be an issue. As the buyer, you don't inherit anybody else's issue. You want to make sure permits are closed, and you want to make sure that's once you make that request, and you gotta and just when you ask for copies of the closed permits, you also have to be cognizant of what you're actually, if they're gonna send you copies of closed permits and there's no permit in there for the pool or for the basement, you didn't get copies of all the permits. You're looking for something in particular. You don't care about the little stuff. You're looking for something else. That's important. So now kind of like meandering into CO. I think you guys call them UNOs. Call them UNO for us is a use and occupancy. CO is a certificate of occupancy. So seller is responsible for the CO up to a certain amount. Paragraph 9 of our contracts puts a little blank in there. We need to pull out. So what is the seller's maximum liability? Clients can assume COs, but that's the nature of your contract. You negotiate in that way. Otherwise, you should fill in that blank. That's typical for whatever that's worth, $500 to $1,000. I got like $2 million deals for so it was like $1,000. So you can see the difference that is, but okay. So, but that's that's something that you need to do. As far as what is required for the CO, you don't know what's required for the CO until the seller called the township. Everything changes. Everything changes. Towns that are doing it or not doing it, towns that are doing it, or having your self-certification. Robbinsville used to do where, okay, well, we're not going to go do it, but send us your home inspection. If there's things in there that we don't like, that'll be your CO violation. And that is a nightmare. I had one, and you find that out, like, no.
What if you don't do inspection?
Well, then everybody has to sign, but then you have to certify that you didn't do an inspection. So that was how, so then we started to be like, you redo that. Once you do the inspection, you're going to sign anything saying that we're fine with everything right now. But again, these things were happening like, today you do one thing, tomorrow you change the rules. So we just say, please call, please call the township, whenever that was the word.
Have you ever had anyone, have you ever had a township that hasn't gotten back to you? Time, like,
I haven't had as far as contacting them.
one person that's responsible for all.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes they do them on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yes.
Like some of it, yeah. You do it. You can look online, but I have no idea if that's what I do. So somehow, some way, and you can tell clients to go, but then the offices are closed.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's the reality that we're in right now, but you really want to know, like for instance, South Brunswick, for 28 years, was live practice real estate, what's this, a smoke detector, carbon monoxide detector. Right in the middle of COVID, they decided to do full inspections. After all those years, they decided, now we're going to do a full CO. Anytime I saw South Brunswick, it's always like, there's nothing. Why not they were doing a full CO. So it's just really important to ask, you know, and find out, you know, what it is. And different towns have different requirements too. So like Trenton actually has one of, you know, has some of the worst ones. Trenton requires, in addition to a regular CO, a heater cert, a chimney cert, and a roof certification. And the CO is like, oh, your paint's chipping and your floors are ripped. I mean, this is in a town that's got some big issues, way bigger than chipping paint and floor issues, but that's what they require. That'll be, you know, it's very important to have a cap on that CO. But the important part too is in a lot of these deals, and you're saying, seller, you know, buyer, you're assuming the CO. So when usually the buyer says, okay, we're assuming the CO, you know, you buy it, you know, you're not gonna occupy until you do your things in your building inspection. You cannot do that in fact. Try to do that, the town will find the seller, find the buyer. I actually had one case where the town, sent a summons to the seller. Well, the buyer has to apply for the CO inspection, even if they're assuming the CO. So the township will come out and inspect. And then once this township is inspected for the CO, then the buyer has to sign off. And why do they do that? Because they want their money. They have to apply for the CO inspection. Story I tell is I have a good client, and this was a number of years ago. The house burned down, the house was taken out, he was selling the lot for $3,500 in Trenton. And I was like, I'm sure you need to know there's nothing to inspect. I'm like, just give them a call. They're like, oh no, buyer's got to apply. I'm like, really? For what? You know, and it was, oh, you got a couple of weeks. I mean, it wasn't, you know, so there's, every town is different. Every time you need a smoke detector certification for it. But again, in some towns, especially your investors, you know, they're not going to apply for, you know, for anything. And a lot of towns are going to do more. And then before anybody occupies or, you know, sell, they're going to get a seal. And you can't, so anyway, that's important to know that at least some of that is, is very, very different. And another one I have to look now, who does apparently a lot of it in Pennsylvania. He got his first New Jersey flip. Looks amazing. Township came out, said, hey, everything looks great. There's your CO. By the way, did you get permits? So now it is a disaster. You know, if you got it, you got to apply for permits. And let's see what happens. Every system basement, the plumbing inspector, heating inspector, building inspector, and the buyer needs to read the parking. So these things, you know, these things matter. So closing costs, as far as differential Pennsylvania, you guys go from New Jersey, so always pays. It is a very simple thing to calculate. There's no, you go online and you say calculator for New Jersey. There's no like, you know, it's not like 1% or 2%, which it is here. So it's just you do the calculation and requirements that you get to do. So that's always paid for by the seller, buyer, whoever splits the control with that. I'm going to jump to the mansion tax. So you'll be in a mansion tax. Your house is $1 million or more. The buyer pays the mansion tax is 1%. So it's a euphemism for the people. And in this market, we don't have to do anything. But you pay, the buyer pays 1%. So the purchase price plus the seller pays the realty transfer fee. So that's important to know. You know, we always have this conversation. I had a conversation this week for one of my deals. Is there anything you can do about it? You know, if you've got, you know, $1,020,000 and you've got, like I've done this in the past, you've got $60,000, $70,000 just, you know, tickets, you could do it in that way. You know, I can try, but don't send a contract for $1.2 million and then write it. You want to be careful in that way in negotiating it. But I mean, you're talking, it's got to be like really, really close. Otherwise, you just have to stop it up and pay 1% for nothing. So, The other thing they talk about in Jersey is the exit tax. Yeah, everybody's concerned about the exit tax. So, it's not as bad. I mean, it's bad, but it's not as bad. So it's not really a tax, it's an estimated capital gains. You know, like, for instance, like I live here in New Jersey, a house at the shore. If I go and I sell my beach house, it's not a primary residence or anything else, I'm gonna have to pay, you know, the exit tax. The exit tax is 2% of the contract price. It's not 2% of the net, it's not 2%, it's 2% of the contract price. If my capital gains is less than that, there's a mechanism for trying to get that, you know, money back. And sometimes people are mortgaged to the hill, and you don't have it. They don't care what your mortgage is. You can get that money back. And I've had clients do that. This market, you know, that can be done. Where does it not apply? If somebody sells their house in New Jersey and run away to Pennsylvania, they don't have to pay an exit tax. If it is your house that you have lived in and it's your primary residence, you do not need to pay an exit tax. That would be a problem. So that's not technically, if you live in a house, it's the last 5 years, so maybe you know, live there consecutively, and in the beginning, then you left, and you went out of state, and you're working out of state, but this was your primary residence for a period of time, you can still fall into that, exception. But it's okay, you have a foreign address, it's, out of state address. It's fine, so long as you can say that this is the house that you. Just the other thing we're going to see is just a couple of practice things. So, Homeowners Association addendum says that the seller pays a statement of account for the HOA, so that the owner changes the statement of account for it. The buyer pays for it, not the seller pays for it. Nobody changes it, because it stays the same way. The reason it's changed customarily is because the buyer really frankly needs it a lot more than the seller. The seller's fine with the way it is, the buyer needs to know what capital contributions, and needs to know all these things are, the title company needs, the lender needs to see. Usually there's title company have to deal with a settlement fee, every time, title company charges, and these attorneys involved. The contract says it's split, buyer pays that as well. Those are just the basic, the basic things. Bulk sales requirements, it's another thing that I don't know. You're buying a property from an LLC. If you're buying a property from, obviously, everything is property, we're talking, about residential real estate. If you're buying a property from an LLC, you're required to file something called a bulk sales notice. Paragraph that is contract, wherever relations, it's actually a pretty good explanation of what the bulk sale requirements are. Basically, it's a notice statute, it doesn't just have to pay anything. As the buyer, obligated to notify the Division of Taxation, you're buying the house from an entity, and for them to determine whether or not there's any outstanding tax obligation if that is tax. It's free, it's just a notice requirement, we have to do it. And only the buyer can file it, or the buyer's attorney can file it. As an agent, you can't file it, the title company will not file it for you. And because the law says that if you don't file it, and there's tax liability that's owned by that seller, the buyer becomes personally responsible for it. So thank you very much, law. You've now made the buyer basically the auditor, charge. So we seem like complete pains in the ass when we ask for those things. And in South Jersey in particular, they really don't like when we ask for those things. But believe me, we have seen a lot of them come back. But we were to hold 30,000 in escrow, 40,000 in escrow. The last year, they've actually been really good at having requirements. If you sell a business if you do this in the ordinary course of business, sell properties, that is one of the exceptions. So when you send it in, if you're the seller, just let the Division of Taxation out. Sometimes they'll require a couple of settlement sheets, and you're LLC for other houses, then they exclude you spot. But if this is, something else, I've got one right now, there's some sort of a marble granite company selling a house, but they bought it and the marble granite company, they're not, the first is having to buy it. I have to do the notice. Because if there's anything that's marble and granite company owns, buyer, and shouldn't have to pay that liability. And all I'm looking for is a better. So that's on that. And the last thing is surveys. Something I understand that nobody in PA does. And oh my God, I cannot even begin to tell you how critical they are. So I guess I can tell you some more stories, but I had one client contract 2 months ago, literally, almost ready to close. Surveyors are they got us the survey just a couple weeks before closing. Nice swimming pool in the back, basically to like the swimming pool. The house is kind of an accessory to the swimming pool. The swimming pool was on a wetlands buffer. So you have wetlands and 50-foot buffers, depending on the space for wetlands buffers. You cannot put any structures on wetlands buffers. There was a permit for swimming pool. That permit's no good. The whole entire pool, the whole entire backyard, everything needs to be. You cannot have a right to put anything on wetlands buffers. If you do not have the survey, there's no issue. I just had another client where border town, and you guys are there, it's just like everything's very close together. And a lot of these clients honestly don't get them because they're like really kind of close to stamp houses, and like still in the yard. So, you go in the yard and it's all fenced in, there's a nice little deck, a nice little patio out there. Basically half of that area, and we're not talking about a big area, was in the neighbor's property. And they were right away. And then there was a thing, they were gonna lock off the stairs, and you have no access into your house, and you come forward, it's a lot, like, you will not know any of that without a survey. I'm not sure, I'm not sure why it's that way there versus, like I said, I live here, I don't have a survey, but it is so, critical right now. Yeah. How do you know, that you're cool? Oh, and then we have setback lines. Those are wonderful. So then they'll tell you, oh, front yard, you have a 50-foot setback. Back, 20%. Side, some towns have it about maps, sometimes, some towns don't. If anything goes over. So I have one incident about a couple months. It was beautiful pergola. And the pergola was all of 2 feet over the setback line, not outside the lot, like outside the setback line, which is like you measure from the code to the house. So I was like, well, how hard, can it be? Contact the township, ask the township maybe to issue variance. Well, you can't just do anything yourself. It has to be done through the return on the land use attorney. $5,000 pergola variance thing. So it's important. It's really annoying, but very, very important. And when I represent clients, I send them a installation of a survey list. They have to initial whether they want one or whether they won't, and if they don't, I cover my ass. So that's the way that that's the way it works. And then we did a survey. And my one last war story, which I'm in the middle of right now, and we're closing this tomorrow. We got a survey for a house that my client is purchasing. We find out from the seller that the neighbor right next door who just bought a survey knocked on his door and said, pay me $5,000 to move your fence. Your fence is, a foot on my property. Total joke. And so they disclosed it to us, and we're like, okay, well, it's a really nice fence. You're gonna have to move the fence. So we go and we get our survey because we want to go and we were to say, like, okay, the survey's on the roof, we want to make sure it's fine. Oh, and he had a cut of driveway, right? We get our survey. Same exact surveyor. Morgan, same exact surveyor. Literally a month later, 2 months later, because the guy had just moved in, the line was wrong. I got my survey, and we're like, you know, so the line where the seller had his fence before he knocked it down, because the neighbor that a survey, same surveyor, was completely correct. They measured it from the wrong spot. So that was my really nasty conference call last week. The neighbor was wrong, the one that wanted money, but in the meantime, the seller had now spent all this money. So the survey said, of course, we'll cover everything, so I'm still waiting for it in writing, because now I have the buyer, and I have a chunk of driveway missing, and I have like, you know, half a fence. Same surveyor, so what do you know? Yeah, well, they said that they're gonna take care of it. I'm like, okay, I need it in writing. I need it in writing today because I'm closing tomorrow. And then you're moving into a neighborhood and your neighbors are for a while. So like, you know, welcome to the neighborhood.
Who does the surveys? Do they hire like contractors to do that?
They use licensed surveyors. They use licensed surveyors. And, you know, the thing is, here's the other thing with surveys. They're like $700 bucks. And you pay for them, whether or not you buy a house. You know, you're not, you know, you tell the title company to order it, they order it. And they were like, in the summer, some of them like 5 weeks behind. You're gonna get whoever you're gonna get. So we ask clients right away. Now clients, understandably, and I don't blame them, are like, well, I don't wanna order a survey until I know I'm buying this house and the inspection is in a mess. You know, because how many of them done were like, the deal fell apart, and here's your $750 survey, which could go in the trash. So,
So if a seller has a recent survey, let's say we moved in 2 years ago and they have a survey and stuff, what do you recommend?
we recommend it, we always ask if the seller has a survey, if it's a recent survey, I always want to have a copy of that survey. There's something called a survey affidavit of change, which the seller signs and says, you know, I haven't changed anything, and the title company will certify that survey. I was at a deal yesterday with an attorney, and I was like, do you have a prior survey? Which I always ask, and she's like, and even if I did, I wouldn't give it to you, and if I did, I wouldn't, I don't let my clients sign survey affidavits of no change anyway. But, okay, for an old survey, you don't want them to do that, because, okay, there is a downside to getting a survey affidavit of change. If you get to be, you know, one of the unlucky neighbors like in the scenario I'm telling you about for tomorrow, and you go to the surveyor and say, hey, surveyor, you did this wrong. And they're like, you're not my client. I have no obligation to you. So you gotta pay. Do it right, you gotta pay. Sorry. That might be New Jersey's model. You gotta pay.
Out of curiosity, if the seller has an attorney and going just back to inspection, the buyer doesn't want out. They need an attorney to get them.
Absolutely. And the only way you cancel is under an attorney review clause, and an attorney review clause requires an attorney. It's not like a 3-day decision period.
Attorney review clause as opposed to the contract.
There is, there's no clause in the contract allowing you to cancel except for an attorney review. No, it's not like, you know, 3 days decision.
And if they did use an attorney during that attorney period, can they still get an attorney to terminate or?
You can only terminate during the 3-day attorney review. Now, if the buyer to seller, buyer will sign the deal. Seller's attorney sent out an attorney review. Buyer can terminate the contract, even if it's after 3 weeks. And remember, until that attorney review letter is signed off, contract still open.
Okay.
So if the seller sent out a letter, buyer said, oh, you know, they need to get an attorney to cancel the contract.
So let's say seller attorney makes an attorney review letter and they mark the terms that the buyers want to terminate, you know, structural problems. Buyer doesn't use an attorney, signs off on the attorney review letter. Then during inspection, is structural, if it's that criteria, they still can't terminate.
Only if the seller doesn't agree to fix it. So that's the thing. So paragraph 16 of the contract, what it says is that, and I'm sorry that I didn't explain it. So you can cancel the contract if there's problems. The difference is that you always have to give the seller an opportunity first to agree with it. Whereas in Pennsylvania, you could just say, this is not what I thought I was getting, cancel. You always have to give the seller an opportunity. the buyer would have to write a letter, stating, I want like, of course, we'll put everything under the sun, and whether that's not structural or that's not structural, and the seller says no. I mean, technically, if you have 20 items on a letter and all those 20 items are actionable, I mean, it's not a code.
Right.
And the seller says no to one of them, you can technically walk away. You have a chance, you have the right to cancel the contract. And if there are no attorneys involved, it's 14 days in waiver. There's 7 days for the seller to respond, 5 days for the buyer to respond. But again, in these 14 days, you have to get back out as the buyer. You have to always give the seller an opportunity to say that they're going to fix it first.
I know it's not a pre-date rate of revision, so I just came up with our client. Seller B or seller A, selling the house, they're under contract, they're in their 3 days. Seller B or buyer B comes in and offers them more while they're still under attorney review. How does that work? How do the sellers switch out? Are they,
Cancel, the one with the buyer with the less, and then you go with the other buyer. I mean, you try and before you send it, there's different ways of doing it. It doesn't seem like it's very, very nice. But, you can send a letter and you can say, I'm disapproving the contract. I need additional time to talk to my client. If you've got a second buyer, that I told my sellers and we work with, we said, okay, well, number one, for the second buyer, I want to know this. So there's some of them, yes. And I want to know what that lawyer is going to ask. Right? So if you have, waiver, then is it really waiver or is it not? Appraisals, or did you just wait $10,000 appraisals and you're putting 5% down and you're going to back out more? So there's, there's different, there's different things. But yeah, you can cancel the first one, and then go to, but unless you do this, generally it's really distances.
in New Jersey, are they forced to, agent asked to give the client the right to the next contract? Like, or, I'm sorry, we have to present the contract.
The water attorney, you probably have to present. Yeah. So you file, you for backup offers, when you take it off. I mean, I don't know, I guess, people are still coming in and, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's different, I mean, but obviously, I mean, it seems, on the other end, it's like, you do a lot to try and keep the deals together. I mean, this is really all in the spirit of keeping the deal together, and maybe it works with both parties, it's not, it really isn't supposed to be like, oh, I'm better than you, and I'm not winning you, it's doing it, and most attorneys and most of us that do this all the time, work together. It's very important to work with the agents because it's important. It's also really important for the agents to tell us if they're bidding work, or if you're working with a buyer. Well, I've been working with this buyer for a really long time. If you, this is only the first house you lost, that's different than if you lost, 20 other offers. And I think it's really important right now for buyers to really understand, like, what are you really doing? You're waiting. Yep.
How do you charge a buyer for a seller?
I charge a flat fee, so generally like $1,200. We collect that at the time of closing. Sellers usually come into our office to sign. And then they can use it, Pennsylvania, closing documents and sellers and everything else. And to be honest with you, if you get an attorney and you're the seller, and by the time you remove half the settlement fee, on your fee, you're almost covering what you're, what you typically do. So, yeah, if things keep going, it's major, I will pay more, but 99.9% fee and so close to possible.
And you take, okay, so let's say they only put this house, and then they would put it over in another house, so you charge them everything.
No, so what happens is if you're in attorney review, the deal falls apart. So I'm gonna charge, if you went through inspections and the deal falls apart, I charge for it. Your inspector's not gonna give you weeks at a time, you're gonna go with your inspection. So you charge, for time. Or, I'm not gonna be like, oh, 1,200 for this one, okay, great, 1,200 for that one, that would be nice. That's a divorce. Yeah. Yeah, I did divorce for a number of years. I'm very thankful to not be divorced. And the nice thing about real estate is there's a beginning and an end. And hope that everybody's happy and nobody is divorced a couple years later. Any other questions?
There's not really an end date, but if you don't want it on, like, what's the?
Yeah, like, the final, like, it's this 30 days of your. What I'm saying is, if nothing is done in the contract, I mean, there are dates that are in there. Again, every attorney does things differently, some attorneys, but you try and, because most buyers attorneys will take that waiver, if you don't have an attorney respond and limit what the buyer is asking for, and limit the timeframes, or limit what's done, then you're looking at 30 days of being like, but I want you to fix this, and I want you to fix that. I mean, and it's usually not the initial request, it's the time going back and forth in negotiation. It takes a long time, and I'm sure sometimes it takes a long time, and, but your buyers have had that opportunity in that first 15 days to decide, do they want it or do they don't. And if they want to play that game, or not the game, if they really want it, they're, I would imagine they're pursuing the fit. Whereas like here, it's just. It's not that bad. Oh, good. It happens. We're happy.
When we're working with a buyer in New Jersey, when would you typically speak to the buyer first? After they're under contract, or would you have like a consultation ahead of time to give them a heads up?
What I always tell my buyers, sign the contract. That's why there's attorney review. It's a very busy seller's market. Don't go wasting your time trying to talk to a lawyer before signing. If you've got a thing putting in, that's what attorney review is. Think of our attorney review like your 15-day period, like, bye-bye. But please don't send me the contract at, the very final hour of the third day that we're gonna have, because some buyers,
You were saying about the time frame before. If I got a contract signed on Sunday, I'm sending it over to you. Is it like, is there times where we won't get to it? Like,
nope. So, we know to get back to, we know. This is why, when the market's insane, we all get to it in time. I mean, you try and get the letter out that very first day.
Now it's out of our control, we're waiting on you.
Right. Yeah, you try and get the letter out that very first day. Like I said, like, oh, it's 3 days are up, you're on the return. Well, no, 3 days are up. What we say we can't do is we can't control that side. A lot of times when we have the seller, I like getting the buyer's letter first, because seller's market, right? So, like, okay, we're off or something, whatever. But, the buyer's attorney in particular really needs to get that.
you look at them on weekends, or?
I do. Listen.
So you don't have a life like we don't have a life?
No, I do try. I have, not just gonna get my rules now. I have a, I really does my sales, guys, there's people answering the phone. I mean, I joke about myself. And they call me and I say, I work at the time, and they say, but I would like you, and I don't want that. You know, then on my $2.7 million deal that I'm doing, I'm not charging, on those ones, if it's over $1 million, I do charge. Deal. But I, you know, we're obviously established it before.
Is the process the same in South Jersey, Central Jersey, and North Jersey? Or
Nope, not at all. But, you know, the problem is, sorry, you know, in South Jersey, realtors try and practice sometimes like agents in Pennsylvania, and our contract terms are different. And sometimes what they do is, quite frankly, give really wrong advice. You know, well, you can't back out, or you can't do this, or you can't just walk away, and you can't, you know. So, the process is different, however, we do things differently down there as well. Very cognizant of what it is, and, you know, in South Jersey, as an attorney, you want to have a conversation. Anyway, nobody does that. But, you know, I have a project client. It's hard. And it's those, you know, you're also not doing Oprahs until it becomes really big, public record requests. You're not doing the surveys, and then you get phone calls. And not giving advice, because the title companies are gonna tell your client, you need to check about this permit, or you should double check this, or you wanna do a survey, you know. The agent's just gonna say sign into this, and you probably can't or should, or, you know, whatever it is. There's a lot of different things you need to know about in New Jersey. And if you don't, and you don't advise it, you know, if you hear about it and it's a problem, and you don't, and you don't want to.
Typically, like with my clients, 99% of the time I always like, okay, but working with Central Jersey and South Jersey, I mean, when you're dealing with a bidding war and everything, I don't even mention that a buyer's using an attorney until it's that time, because
Yeah, but don't mention it, but don't mention in South Jersey.
Yeah.
Just get a contract signed. You
just-
don't need to, just say that title company holds it.
Yeah,
What I,
just-
yeah,
the thing I do typically is they'll ask, are you using an attorney? I say, well, we're presenting a deal, I'll advise my client, you know, they have the right to use an attorney. Knowing they're probably gonna use an attorney, because push that, and then when the attorney review happens, they get a buyer's, attorney.
Okay.
So,
yeah, you don't tell them that you're using an attorney or fine. You say you don't know. Well, you know, yeah, if you're gonna get a lawyer, if you're gonna get an attorney that's from Northern Jersey, you know, the way you should do it in South Jersey, just for the agent. I had a conversation with the agent, is, I know you hate working with lawyers, and I promise I won't bite. And, you know, these are my concerns, and like, if I just send you like an email saying what they are, would you please just talk to your seller about it? And usually what's, you know, splendid.
yeah, that was my next.
And sometimes we got, listen, there's
Approach them, just-
different attorneys, there's different agents, and, you know, and at the end of the day, your client is the one that has to make that choice. And at least you can tell them, I mean, I've done so many deals where I haven't sent a review letter, and I'm not even just talking to them, I mean, like, you know, one of my clients bought, like, literally a home I've walked past a million times, in Towpath in Lambertville, it's like right on the water, it's just, they bought the house, and I'm like, you don't even want to do, you know, a letter. So call the other lawyer, and you're like, when you're doing yours, can you just add these 2 little lines? And she did, you know, like, you gotta, you know, you gotta have the sense of knowing what the deal is. And I, you know, I can't speak to what other attorneys do, or if they speak to the agent, and the agent pays to them, you know, was there a bidding war, was there?
If the seller doesn't have an attorney and the buyer does, can the seller during that contract get a lawyer?
You can get an attorney anytime you want, it just makes a lot more sense to get an attorney in the beginning, because get it at the, you know, get it at the end. You know, once it's not that people are, have to, yeah, I have lots of deals with sellers that have lawyers, or, that deals with sellers and buyers that have lawyers.
I have one quick, we were talking about this earlier. We have a seller that has, it's not so much a tenant inside the house. There's no lease, there is, the person living in there is only paying for taxes, there's no private property. The house is up for sale. Is there something they can do to get this person out, and because they're also avoiding showings and
Those are horrible situations. I absolutely, landlord tenant, and it's very different from property that I'm so happy about. But it's so much easier in PA, it's so much easier. New Jersey, I'm not a landlord tenant attorney, but here's 2-second rundown in New Jersey and tenants. Obviously, everybody in this chance, once you're in a 1-year lease, is more difficult. 1-year lease becomes a month-to-month lease. Whether it's a written lease, whether it's an unwritten lease, whether it's just peacefully living in your house or not living there. How do you have that tenant lease? With a month-to-month lease, you can give notice to your tenant to leave. But if you're selling your house, and you're selling your house to an investor who's going to be using it also as a rental property, you cannot tell them to leave so that you could sell it to an investor.
what if it's not an investor that buys it?
The person that's buying it has to live there as a personal property, they're entitled to the investment. So,
But it's the buyer, that,
the seller.
the seller
Yeah,
can't.
so in your case, if there's a tenant that's living in that house, whether there's a lease or no lease, if they're on the lease, they may have no lease, but you can't be like, get out. They can file something, they give them notice, statutorily, get out of the house, and it's 30 days, you get a timing in a certain way. But, we're selling the property, the buyer intends to reside, you are to leave, the debt, and if certified mail, follow up, tenant's not responding, tenant's not leaving, then you file an action.
That's not sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole, landlord tenant.
The last one was, we had two that hasn't showed us any documentation, but he had a, like showing, he told me it's going to show me proof, but
I mean, you gotta be like careful too, like, can you ask them as an agent, for-
I didn't ask,
Right.
he
Right.
volunteered it.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, like, it's so hard, what do you do? I mean, if you are the tenant in the house, it's month to month, and you're paying on time, because they don't have anywhere to go either.
He's only paying the
really hard.
taxes, that's all he's paying,
How would you really live it?
because the guy was a nice guy trying to help him out.
I'm not to be that, no.
He's a nice guy.
No, nice guy.
That's something you recommend. Go with a month initially, as opposed to like a long-term lease. In Jersey.
No, I mean, most people. It's just knowing how New Jersey family tenant,
Got it.
it's a very pro tenant state.
Yeah.
So that's just. There's lots of fun pitfalls. Any other questions? I have a bunch of outlines here. I didn't bring any business cards because they didn't make it to my office today, so, but if there are any questions, whether you're just using my services or not, I'm happy to answer any questions about, secrets.
Are you an attorney in Jersey?
Yep, I'm licensed in both. I'm doing a number of things actually, VA, because, it's sale by owners. Thank you very welcome. Good luck to you guys. If I need those here.
Is your info on that?
They are on those papers. I'm so sorry. Yeah. These are work papers.
Oh, those are the.
I'm like, you get to say,
you, Christine?
Yeah, that's me, on my letterhead. I'll stop in. This is me. Thank you.
She definitely looks like.
Which one are you, Irene or Tina?
I'm Irene.
You were looking, I'm like, she does not look like a house.
You're not Howard?
I'm not Howard.
I don't assume anymore.
I am Irene, yes. You know, well, so I'll drop off some cards on my way to work tomorrow. Thank you, guys.
You have a daughter or son at, Lehigh, do they like it?
Oh my gosh. My older one graduated with a master's. My younger one started in Laramie, Larry's son. She started Miami, University of Miami, and she transferred us. She was like, I'm gonna, from the virtual, I'm gonna sit under a palm tree. She really like Lehigh, to like leave Florida,
Yeah.
and like go to Suffolk, Pennsylvania, she loves it.
Okay. My daughter likes Lafayette too.
Oh, no.
I know. Her,
My best friends are.
one of our coaches on the team, she pitched at, Lehigh, she's one of like I think she's got a lot of records. So she's like, oh, you gotta go to Lehigh, and she's like, I think Lafayette better. And she's like, you're killing me, Smalls are never gonna play, and you won't get into any of them.
It's so funny, because Lafayette's a very, I got to the, Lehigh Lafayette days.
Oh, yeah, it's
They're-
That's like the Del Val, library.
So, yeah, I don't know if, it's funny, it's right up to that. It's pretty good.
Where did they go to high school at?
I'm from South.
Okay, mine, or north. I have one at Widener. My other daughter actually is in Centennial. She's living with her dad right now. It's a very different school district. She's a little shocked. She likes it, but the academic rigor is non-existent. They had her write, in English, they said, write a 5-paragraph essay using MLA. No one knew what MLA was. Like how to cite or anything. I was like,
Just a different, well, the north is even more successful.
they say it. I mean,
They say that
same
it's
curriculum.
You know what, it depends on the teacher,
Yeah.
and I gotta tell you, some of the teachers are amazing and some are suck.
Yeah.
No, I don't have a single, we've never had a single good math teacher. Actually, we did, but then he went to jail.
Oh, yeah.
So,
We have, our middle school math teacher is pretty solid. My daughter doesn't like him, but I think he's a very good math teacher. She's like, I don't understand it. I'm like, well, you're not doing the practice, so that doesn't, doesn't matter. But yeah, well, it's like going to, I guess, Lafayette Lehigh is like a north-south.
Yeah, it is, yeah. But with lots of like really funny, like songs.
Yeah. Yeah, my son plays football and wrestles from north and south.
Yeah. My nephew wrestled for North.
Okay.
And my nephew, calendar.
Oh, yeah.
Jamie's a state champ.
Yeah.
And my brother-in-law, Jack Calendar.
Oh, yeah,
Jack died.
yeah. Yeah, they do the calendar cup. They do like there's a tournament that they do just for them. Yeah. Wrestling's a very odd sport.
Yeah, it is. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Take
Thank
care.
you.
When?
I told him flat out, I said, look, because it seems like you guys are genuine. Their shot, but I just like, got there, gave you what you were saying. And finalized for it. You don't have like 40 minutes. I asked.
What's gonna happen in 5 years? I don't care if you say lifetime or not. You don't know what's gonna happen in your lifetime.
I always tell buyers that, like, have a 5-10 year plan. That's a lot. You don't have 5-10 year plan about this house. You get to- I mean, unless it's a great deal. You don't write an offer, you write sheet offers. I do an email, I do a format, an email, parentheses, flexible, or leave back, or whatever little nugget for,
You're talking about just Jersey, right?
just Jersey. Oh, that's what you're doing, that's a great deal.
It's not official, it's like.
Yeah, but you're gonna get, you, your contract, you know, there's.
Well, what I do in Pennsylvania, I'm doing that just to show them, this is our cards. This is our cards. You want it formal, I'll do it in 5 minutes. But here's what we got. They can send it to you, so if they like it, I'll make it formal. But it gives them at least, oh, of course, cash is it. And then that's it. And I've done a lot of it work that way. Because it's just to the point right now, you write in the contract. The sellers, when Robert's buyers to click the button and sign for that stuff. I mean, basically, this is what I've been telling all my life. It's a lot less. It's not official until at least after attorney review happens. So everything is imaginary. We're gonna make an imaginary contract, with imaginary terms. Then we're gonna wait 3 days to make sure the seller doesn't have a better deal to cancel our contract and go with someone else. So until attorney review is over, that's when the guy will carry on. What if you guys get a better deal with attorney review? He said, oh, I'm not. I said, well, you can have this off. And he goes, yeah, I get it. And you seem like a pretty. Guys are like, you seem like a pretty host and all that. But I said, thank you, but I'm just trying to express to you. But he was like, I said, look, I'll back off. Have this, it's a first time self. What you do, you think? If we get it, we get it. But it's an investor of mine. And, we'll give them over asking, most investors are looking for that, low ball deal, or not. Want that from. So, it's kind of like, whatever. So, I mean, I'm not telling you to do that, not do that, I'm just telling you that's what I do. And also, the offer proposal. The offer proposal, it's the point. Doesn't. Right. It's my perspective. That's why I did it.
I was like, forgot my phone.
Where's the?
Something under that.
Ooh, there we go.
I mean, it's part of that township.